Welcome to the Business of Wholesaling. I'm your host, Drew Carroll, and today we're with the one, the only Julian Castle. Julian, how you doing?
Hey, Drew, I'm doing great. How are you doing today? Thank you for having me on.
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for being on. I'm really excited for this today. Julian, tell us all, who are you and what do you do?
Hey, so my name's Julian. I'm based out in Miami, and basically I run a real estate Facebook group that is called the Real Estate Investors Group with 184,000 members. I also run a newsletter with 47,000 plus subscribers. Currently, we're in the middle of launching a mastermind, and I'm a wholesaler. I wholesale. I have like 5 active deals going on right now. So basically, I'm in this real estate game, for the long run. I'm going to be getting into commercial later and Section 8. So I'm just excited to be here and being able to add value to the audience. And
That's awesome. That's really exciting. So you're obviously very plugged in. You've got quite the audience of investors. How did you ever get started in real estate investing to begin with?
when I was like 18, or I was working at a hotel job, and I was a room server attendant, and basically I was making decent money. For those of you that don't know, for room server attendant, you get a 21% gratuity, like right off the bat, and all you have to do is like 3 or 5 minutes of service. So it's like the best, kind of a job you can get for tips. And I was working at a really upscale hotel here in Miami called the One Hotel, and I realized that basically this is not the way to make wealth. Like I was like, I can't do this. And so I started looking online, and like I saw Ty Lopez and I saw Grant Cardone, and I was like, oh, these guys are sharing, a different way to do things. I don't have to work the 9 to 5 life and retire at 65. And so basically, I started doing, different side hustles. I started a social media marketing agency. I started drop shipping. I did different things. And then throughout my journey, I quit for several reasons. Like I was like, I just didn't see the longer path. I was like, I don't know if I can make it big with this. And then eventually I realized that I wanted to audit what I would be best at, and what I had advantages on. And so my stepfather actually he owns a real estate portfolio in Miami that's worth about $30 million. He owns half of that. And so I realized, well, he was able to give us a really good, upbringing, and I could probably use, his portfolio in some way or another to build mine. And so I realized that I had an advantage, in that sector, and also that I'm also social. I love being around people. I love talking to people. I love meeting new people. So I was like, real estate is really a great thing for me. And besides, I saw other influencers who had the kind of life that I wanted. So I was like, all right, let me get into real estate, and let me figure this out. So that's how I got started.
That's cool. It's funny too that it's like you're leaning back on a skill that you're social. It's so funny. Me too, right? Like the reason for my success at this point is because of my gift of gab. I can talk to people, which has been great for business and networking. But man, tell me in high school that I'd be successful because I'm social, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone is kind of the first faces you kind of saw that started to bring you over to this. Obviously, Ty Lopez had a bit more of an impression on you at the beginning if you went like the SMMA and drop shipping route, which is kind of cool. But I know Ty definitely went into the wholesaling space. So very interesting. Did you spend a lot of time with the SMMA business or drop shipping, or was that just kind of like a splash? You were just kind of testing different models at that point?
Yeah, so I did spend like 6 months, working on the SMMA. I bought the course, and then 2 months later, I had gotten 2 clients for $2,000, and so I found success, and I was like, this is great. And then basically, what I didn't end up liking was that I had to be behind a computer all day, like working on things, and I was like, I don't really want to do that. I kind of wanted to be a little bit more social, like have a job that was a little bit more social. So I ended up like, moving away from that, and I tried e-commerce, and then I had some success in e-commerce, but then I didn't have the budget or the capital to really, give my e-commerce business a lift, and I didn't know about business credit. And so I just went from different businesses on, and then I was working, different hospitality jobs until eventually I was okay. Well, I got to get into real estate, and and I could see the long run. So yeah.
It's interesting too. I think it's pretty natural progression for a lot of people in like the marketing world. I've spent a lot of years in it. But yeah, like, so for anybody listening, if you don't really understand the comparison, not like wholesaling and real estate is a very difficult industry to get into. SMMA and ecom is also a very difficult industry to get into. So I commend you for kind of the path that you went through. Like an SMMA business is incredibly hard to acquire customers for. The fact you got 2 in your first couple of months is awesome. Ecom is just a disaster, but in my experience. But to your point, there's no long-term asset or tails in either of those businesses. Neither of them are really going to be set up for a sale. Neither of them are really going to be a big asset that you own. Most of them are just going to be jobs. Like an SMMA business for 95% of people is literally a job that you've created for yourself, which is typically quite stressful and not very profitable. So it's interesting, or it's great to see that you've made a transition very quickly into an industry that has a future, something that you can actually build yourself some generational wealth with. So what about your stepfather's portfolio did you think that, would inspire you to start building your own portfolio, or that you could use to help you build your own?
So basically I realized, when I got into it, I started reading a Grant Cardone book, his, I think it's Create Wealth with Real Estate Investing. It's a blue book. And I started understanding just the way that real estate is valued, at the commercial level. And so I was like, okay. And then I kind of did the math on my stepfather's property. And I was like, it's crazy. We would make a killing if we were to sell that and, buy into another property. And so I started to get into it. I convinced my mom's boyfriend, which is different from my stepfather, to go to a real estate seminar with Grant Cardone, and we learned all about it, over a weekend over there. And then when I came out, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. You can do so much, and and I wanted to get into it, and so I was like, okay, well, basically my stepdad's property is it's making like $50K a month, triple net, right? So it's making about $600,000 a year. However, it's on 23rd and Collins roughly. So it's like, it's prime property, it's prime real estate. And so I shopped around to see how much it would be worth, and it would be worth like $30 million, so that would be like a 2.5 cap basically. So I was like, yeah, that's insane, because if we were to sell that and we just put it into a high yield savings account that makes us 4%, we'd be making more money. And so so I was like, that's interesting. Imagine if we could sell it and then put it into, a higher yielding asset, maybe like a medical office building or apartment building, or, something else, a retail shopping center, and then get like an 8 cap. Like we would triple, basically the income that we're getting, net. And so that's what excited me. And, that's why I got into it. And so, yeah,
that's cool. I think a lot of people, even in this industry, even when people who are wholesaling and in single family and stuff like that, I don't think a lot of us see this value in in where your capital is, what your capital is gaining, and what like it could also be gaining. So a lot of like capital deployment, asset management, like these are typically things that people think about once they have millions of dollars. So it's incredible to think that you early on in your kind of path, that these are the things you were thinking about, because these are things that make a huge difference over the long run. So it's kind of interesting to hear that like your first seminar with your mother's boyfriend kind of started your wheels turning on this kind of stuff, which is really cool. So what was your first deal? Like how did it go from that seminar and you starting this thought process to like actually doing a deal?
I thought, okay, I want to get into this, and I want to make some money first. And so I was like, all right, I got to start wholesaling, right? And so I started wholesaling multifamily. That's what I started with. So I completely skipped over the single family, and I started cold calling multifamily. And then I got an 8-unit building under contract in Albany, Georgia. We got it under contract for, I don't remember, it was a very low price. The rents were like $245. Market rent was like $600. I got under contract, then we were going to sell it for like 30 or 40K profit. I was working with someone, and basically throughout this journey, we didn't vet the buyer right, and basically what ended up happening is that he wasn't able to get a loan, etc. He wasn't going to close, and then we ended up like selling it for an $8,000 profit, and that was my first deal.
What made you start with multifamily and like pick up a cold call list and start calling them? What was that? Like, how did you ever come to, I'm just going to pick up a phone and start calling multifamily? Or did you take another course at that point and kind of had a script or an idea what you were doing?
Yeah. So what I did is that, being at the Grant Cardone seminar, I understood how to evaluate multifamily. And so I was like, okay, well, let me put this into action with wholesaling. And so what I did is I found out that the best, service provider for commercial property owners information is Reonomy, and so we got a subscription for Reonomy, and then we downloaded a list, and we started calling. And so I got a dialer, and then I started calling, and then basically I got that deal. I started evaluating it, and then I was like, okay, well, this is a deal. It's a really good deal. And so I believe we got it at like 140, and we were going to sell it for like 185. So we were going to make 45 grand. And then we ended up selling it for like 150 or something like that, close to that. So it was a very cheap building.
At least you didn't lose any money. A lot of people lose money on their first deal, so that's kind of funny. So where did that take? What happened at that point? Did you expand the team? Did you start buying marketing, or was it same thing? You just started cold calling some more?
Yeah, I started cold calling some more, and then I got another deal under contract. It was a 6-unit deal in Ohio, and then we were working on it, and then there was a lot of things that had to go on for that deal to work. Like there was a wall that needed to be fixed, and so the seller was fixing it. We had assigned it to a buyer, and then eventually this property still has not sold. Like the buyer basically dragged us out for like the longest time, and then he basically couldn't close. He said he was cash, and then he was trying to get a loan, and then the loan terms changed on him, and then we just couldn't get the deal done. And so I just got on the phone with the seller yesterday, and I told him, hey, let's get this sold, but this time I will definitely have a cash buyer. And then he said, okay, so we're sending him a contract and we're doing it. And basically what I realized after cold calling is that multifamily owners are just not that motivated. They're just not that motivated. And so I did the switch when I was like, because I was calling for days, and I was trying to get a deal, and then it wouldn't happen. And so I decided to shift to do single family. And that's when I really realized that, okay, we can get, similar size checks, but with more motivated sellers, that we could just do more of those deals,
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, because typically people come at it the other way. So that's kind of neat. So at the time you've done like 2 multifamily deals. Tell me about your tech setup or like your business setup as a whole. I think a lot of wholesalers get really stuck in this, especially beginner wholesalers who have never done a deal. They're all stuck in like creating the perfect CRM and what does their website look like and all this kind of stuff. At the time for you, like what did your business look like?
So basically what I did was that I created a Trello board, different different boards. I was like, okay, well, leads, engaged leads, offer made, under contract, et cetera, et cetera. And so I did that. And what I did is that I would just have an Excel, like I have a Google sheet, with it. So I created a Google sheet with the information on it so that I could, just fill in the stuff about the property that I was talking about and the seller that I was working with. And so that was my setup for the beginning. I would just fill that out, and then I would just link it into the Trello board, and then I'll just drag the Trello board and over the different boards. And then I would just, follow up and stuff. I'd set reminders on Trello, and, it worked well. It was a free setup. And I think it got me over that, that, I guess that hunch of like, I need a CRM, I was like, well, here it is. I have one. It's simple, it can work for now,
I know guys who do over $10 million a year and they operate off of a legal pad. So I think that's brilliant what you're saying there, right? Like it's you found something, it was simple, it was free, you didn't overthink it. You just like, this is what I need. Because my issue with people that just like over focus on these things, I think that they're missing the point, right? Like the point here is every tech or every piece of technology or whatever you have in your business, its only sole purpose for what you're doing should be to help you talk to more sellers more efficiently. So if anybody listening to this, if you have a CRM or anything, I don't care, a task manager, and it's overwhelming and you spend more time managing that piece of tech than you do talking to sellers, or is hindering you in any way, then you're doing it wrong. Like the only goal is to talk to sellers. If it's easy for you to print out a piece of paper and manually dial it and call it and make notes on that piece of paper, then that's what you should do until you start getting some consistent deal flow. Then maybe invest in a consultant to build you something. But at that point, like I love what you're saying, Julian, a simple Trello board. I put them in there. I had a list of leads. I had a pipe for leads, pipe for engage, a pipe for offer made. Let's go make some money.
Yeah, exactly.
So how does that take you? How do we go from there to where you are now? So now you have this huge Facebook group, and I'd love for you to tell us a story about how you kind of came into that. You have a newsletter and some other stuff, I believe as well. I know that you're launching something coming up here. So tell us, how have you moved now from doing multifamily, start focusing on single family because it's higher motivated, and now you're helping other investors? Tell us about that.
Basically, throughout that journey, I decided, I knew it was a good idea to get into Facebook groups and meet other people like me. I went into Facebook groups, and then I started, getting welcome messages, and one of those was from one of the owners, and basically, he was just doing the same message he does with everyone, and he was just trying to promote his affiliates, right? And then he left his phone number on there, and as soon as I saw it, I just quickly got the idea. Like, I clearly got it. I was like, okay, well, if I call him, like, and I make something with him that is a win-win situation, I could have access to the group. I can have the credibility of it, and eventually in the future, I could possibly, be the owner of it, right? I picked up the phone and I called him, and I was like, hey, my name's Julian, and I asked him for his goals. I was like, what are your goals? And then he was like, well, I really want to get this lending started, and I really want to do this. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, let me help you. And then he was like, okay, sure. And he's like, I'll give you 50% of everything you make. I was like, all right, it's a deal. It's cool. So we got started, and basically what I did first is that I realized that he had a tech stack that was very, very, very bad. And so he had a newsletter with Keep that he wasn't even using, and he was paying $600 with it a month. And so I was like, okay, well, let's figure out how we can make this $600 payment a lot smaller. And then with the new money that is freed up, I can start new initiatives for the group. And I looked into it, and then I was able to find Beehive. Beehive is a platform for newsletters. It costs about $100 or $200 a month. You can have, 50,000 subscribers plus. And so I changed our tech stack to Beehive. And then I realized, okay, well, now we have $400 that are freed up. And so what I did is, like, I told them, why don't we start a podcast? I will be the one that goes out and interviews the people. I'll bring back the videos, the interviews, for the audience, so they could watch it too. And then he's like, oh, we've thought about that, but no one has ever, done it. And I was like, well, that's great. Well, let me do it. And so he was like, okay, cool. And so basically I started, my friend had a copywriting course that he was a part of, that he basically, you could hop on the call with the expert, and he could give you advice for 5 to 10 minutes, like based on your question, right? And so I asked them, it was like, hey, I just partnered with this Facebook group. I want to interview experts. Can you please write me an outreach message that would work? And so he said, yeah. And so he wrote me one on the spot. And then I was like, okay, great. I got the outreach message. And then the second thing is that through some connections, I met this girl at Privy. Privy is the real estate software Privy, and she had pulled a list of all the real estate podcasts available from Apollo, and so she gave that to me for free. She's like, "Oh, here, you can have it." And so I had a list of a podcast, and I had that outreach message. And so all I did is I went online and I got into a free cold email outreach software that allowed me to send emails for a month. And then I uploaded those two things. I filled in the fields, and I started sending outreach messages, and it was insane. I got a 98% reply rate.
Unreal.
So basically, I got all these bookings, and then I started, interviewing these guests. I didn't have a podcast editor or anything, and so I probably did like 10 or 20 podcasts before I ever, like got a podcast editor to cut up these clips, and then obviously, with the money that we had freed up, I told my partner, in the Facebook group, I was like, hey, let's put some money into this so we can actually get the clips rolled out and we can give this to the audience. And then he said, okay. And so that's how I started a podcast, and then I've met a lot of people through that. And, I started the newsletter, I wrote emails and stuff, and it's been going well,
Again, another example of resolve and networking and what it'll get you, like just asking the right people simple questions and then taking massive action. Do you remember what the copywriting course was? I'm a nerd of this.
Yes, stuff. It's called copywritingcourse.com by Navel Medora.
Oh, well, that's right on the nose, I guess. Cool. So what now? What's the plan now? You have a newsletter, you have a Facebook group, you're doing some wholesaling, like you have some deals in the pipeline right now. So what's the goal? Like you asked the owner of this Facebook group what his was, like what is yours? What are you trying to do?
Yeah. So my goal right now is to basically create a community. I want to create a community helping people wholesale. I want to help people get into the space, and I just want to start creating content around this this hustle, this job, and I basically want to create a brand, just starting wholesaling, and then venture out and do some other things like commercial. And I just want to get a lot of people to help, to help them, and then have like a win-win situation as well. They get deals. Maybe they bring some deals to me. We build a great community. We do events in person. I help them as much as I can. And basically I just want to grow. And I want to become, one of the industry, leaders in the space, that just gives value to people, and, and helps them, get the portfolio they want, or, get the income that they want so that they can support their families, better. Cause yeah. I know from my own journey that, the 9-to-5, it wasn't for me. Like I knew that just wasn't it. And I know there's other people like me out there. So I just want to give them that opportunity of giving them another, perspective, another path, so that they can get in there and really grow. Because if you start with wholesaling, it's the beginning steps to real estate. Like real estate is a whole big, world, and you can get in there and you can start doing other things that are bigger. So there's really like there's no limit. Like you can scale. And so I just want to. I think it's more important to choose the right boat than and so I think that if people get into real estate, they have a great, ability to grow into something bigger, which that may not be possible in their current path right now. So that's just what I'm trying to do for them.
What do you see the ascension of a real estate investor be? And obviously paths are going to be different for everybody and based on preference. But if you're talking to somebody who's brand new, so you're talking to me, I've never done a deal before, but I want to have $100 million portfolio. Like, what would you say would be the path that I should take to get there?
Let's say you don't have a lot of money, because that's where most people are, right? Because if you have a lot of money, then you can start with, multifamily or commercial, right?
Right.
Most people don't have a lot of money. So most people have a 9 to 5. So let's say you have a 9 to 5, you're making maybe 3 to 4 or 5 grand a month, right? Most people, that's the average household income in America. And then you decide, well, first of all, you want to be able to replace your job, right? You want to be able to make some income. So I would say go into wholesaling in your free time, and then make sure that you start getting some deals that replace your income. Once you have your income replaced, then you can transition from being a full-time employee to a full-time real estate investor, mainly wholesaling. And then once you have that, then you obviously can make more money than you could in your 9 to 5, right? You can make 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month. People make 100 grand a month, wholesaling, right? So that, I think that's the path. You must replace your income. And then once you have that, then you can have options, right? Once you have the income to invest in other mentors, in masterminds and courses, then you can use that to learn other stuff, right? You can get into, as we were talking about before the podcast, Kent Clothier has the boardroom. He has a mastermind where we talk about commercial. So if you have money, you can then get into this mastermind where you can learn commercial, and then you can learn Section 8. You can get into any of these other pockets that are more long-term wealth building, and then you can start your journey to building your wealth. And then eventually you can stop wholesaling and just focus on what you're doing, which just might be collecting rentals or flipping commercial properties or, syndicating, whatever.
Yeah, interesting. So you do suggest like the ascend, like go step by step type of approach, not necessarily what you did by jumping right into multifamily. Just like get some wholesale deals under your belt, get some money in the bank. There's no reason to go take out a $50,000 loan to become an investor. It's something that you can actually do step by step and learn each piece as you go, which is what I love about this industry so much, is that it's not like buying a McDonald's franchise and you need to have $300K liquid and not expect to make any money for the first 12 months and stuff like that, which is just insane. What else? What else haven't we covered, Julian, that you'd like to cover today?
So basically what we have going on right now is we're working to launch this mastermind. It's going to be a very affordable mastermind. It's going to be $20 a month, right? You get in there, you get all the teachings, and you get a community, and you get a leaderboard with prizes, and so we're just trying to make it fun for you to win, right? And so we're going to be launching this, and then you can join, and then, just start, watching the courses, interacting with community members, and then you can start wholesaling. You can start building your real estate business to 10K a month plus, and so that's what we want to do. And we want to give you all the tools and resources that you need so that you can get there. And we are going to be going live every day. We're going to be, doing 2 to 4 hours of content a day where we'll actually show you how we close deals, using leads like the ones that come from Leadzolo, or you're going to see from firsthand experience how we close these deals, and you're going to have access to the contracts that we use. You're going to have access to us, in order to answer your questions as you're working through your deals. And then basically we just want you to win. And then eventually, as I mentioned, I want to teach commercial. I want to be able to teach you about some of the bigger things in real estate that you may not know. And I'll teach some of it, but I'll also bring on experts, that have more experience than me, that have done it before, and that they can teach you so that you can understand the different kind of niches in real estate. And then we can, we can just grow, together.
Why only $20 a month? Like I pay 30 grand a year to be a part of a mastermind that teaches this kind of stuff. So why are you going to be this different than the other big gurus and just making it so affordable for people to come in? Won't that just be like a logistical nightmare for you and your team?
Yeah, so it is true that, obviously some people go for quality. They pay 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, $30,000 a month. And they do get people that sign up, right? And so they have a smaller pool of people, right? And with the smaller pool of people, they can focus on them and grow them. And that's great. However, I really want to help as many people as I can. And so making it affordable allows me to be able to uh, allow the high schooler, to join, the college person to join, right? And so all I want to do is I want to get all these people together, and as other people are doing high ticket, I'm doing volume, right? So I want to get a big, large community, and I want to be able to teach them everything that I've learned. And so with that, I believe that basically the economies of scale is more important than just a small few. That's how I see it. So I rather help more people at a lower cost, because at the end of the day, people are still people. People still have potential. And so if I have 10,000 people in my mastermind, or 1,000 people, and you only have 50, I have more people that could potentially bring deals, to me, in the future, and also that I could help. People are just, it's going to be there's going to be friendly competition. We're going to have prizes, and then people, are going to have to stand out from the crowd. And so there's a lot more of if I make it, then I'll be given more attention, and then with more attention, you have more opportunities, of learning. And so I just really want to grow this, so that also there's a lot of people there that people can help each other with. They can work with and work together.
And as you've explained too, like through your journey, right? Like a lot of your success has come from networking and meeting people. So it's no wonder that your focus is on building as big a community as possible, because you've just proven over and over again that that's what you use. That's what you've used to become successful. And I think a lot more people should be more serious about using and getting involved in these types of masterminds, because honestly, it's where it's at. Like I don't think there's an information gap these days. Like I think most people have a general idea of how to do things in general, right? Even when it comes to wholesaling and investing, you can go on YouTube and kind of get the basis of it. But what most people need is a group of people who are in it with them, to hold them accountable, to actually see somebody do it in live time in front of you and go, oh shit, that's actually real. I think that's what a lot of people need to get themselves moving forward. And I think it's why masterminds and events and all these things are so popular, because people like me and people listening to this need to see these things. Like we need the belief is in seeing it, not being told it. So I think what you're doing is just awesome, Julian.
Yeah, thanks. And I really I appreciate the mastermind industry as well. It's so important. It's such a big part of like why people grow. And I think that it's just it's a good thing to be able to bring a community of people together that have a common goal, and just helping them, help each other, helping them get there, in general. I think that's just, a really good use of time, to impact lives.
How do people learn about this mastermind or your Facebook group?
My Facebook group is it's available on Facebook. Obviously, you can look it up, Real Estate Investors Group. But there's a lot of real estate groups, and we're one of the largest, I think, groups out there. But if you want to go directly to the group, you can just type in joinrei.com. That's joinrei.com, and you'll go directly to the Facebook group. And then in the Facebook group, you'll eventually get to know me and what I'm doing, and then you'll be able to be given access to the mastermind, where you can just get in there if you want and start working with us, to build your real estate wholesaling business to 10K a month or more.
Awesome. Joinrei.com. I love it. Julian, thank you so much. I really appreciate having you on. I think we should bring you back again to tell us some more about the mastermind, so you can talk to our internal group with Lead Zolo. I think that'd be a big hit. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you spending this time with me today, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Drew. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.